doing, CultureCon Black Hell? I like that so much better. First of all, again, what an amazing day. Shout out to Pinnacle Productions, shout out to J. Ray Vince, and shout out to the box. Look at this thing, y'all. Isn't this beautiful? What a beautiful venue to be able to do amazing things like this. And this is one of the things that really excites us, is the opportunity to bring all of these different type of things together. Before we even get into this, one of the things that's really big about, actually I need the clicker, there it is. One of the things that's really big about us at Think 3D is, we want to do things with people that we care about. Actually, the interesting thing about us, we have 3 non-negotiables when we start with a new organization. 3 non-negotiables. The first one is, everyone's in the boat. If you think you're above the training, there's no greater evidence that you need it. Whenever we work with an organization, everybody has to be involved, CEO all the way to the person who changes the trash liner at some point in time. The second one is, just because you pay us doesn't mean we work for you. We are a partner, which means we have to hold people accountable. We have to challenge them in many instances. And the last one being is, you got to be willing to move away from your top performer because they undermine the culture. Because if there's so much that you can do with so much money that you can make that it justifies you diminishing the experience for everyone else, a culture, a healthy culture anyway, is one that is just not in your reach. That's a big thing for us. Because when we engage with people, it's important that people know who we actually are, because that's who we're actually going to be. For us, we don't do work with people that we don't like or that we don't care about. It's not worth it. We don't care about things we don't care about or that we're not really into. Those are the things that are guiding us. And so when we get to do events like this, when we get to be in environments like this, with people who want to do amazing things, and sometimes in environments that don't always support that, it's challenging. It's challenging to be that one dissenting voice and say, I think there's a better way for us to do this. I think we can approach this in a different style. I think we can update what it is that we're doing. It's hard to do that. So we always want to bring folks together to celebrate that, let you know you're not alone, you're not crazy, you are on the right path, keep going. And we also want to do it with people who understand who we are, people who want to do high quality things at a high level consistently, which is why we're here and which is why we're working with these partners. So give it up for them one more time. All right. So as we talk about this idea of vision and versions, before we bring it home, we want to give you even more things for you to be able to take and put into practice, right? The beautiful thing about this is that we have an opportunity to have some really amazing people grace the stage and tell their story. But one of the things that we're really passionate about is making sure that you leave with things that you can take and implement even today to make your environments better. What's so important for us is that we saw a lot of small businesses, quite honestly, that sometimes can't afford our services at the moment. This is a day of development. They get an opportunity to come and really work on their skills, and we want to make sure you get a lot out of it. So we're going to get into that. We're going to have a few breakouts and have a little bit of conversation as well. So let's get into it. So when we talk about this idea of vision and version, a dream is something that you wake up from. Vision is something that stays with you. And so when we talk about the idea of visioning, it is a skill. I want you to understand that sometimes people misperceive the language that we use as soft language. It's not soft language. It is the thing. And a lot of times we just misinterpret it. So we're going to go through a few things, and I want to define some stuff for you so you can kind of understand where it is that we're coming from. So the first thing is that when we talk about vision, vision is the ability to think about or plan the future with imagination or wisdom. To think about, or even more importantly, plan the future with imagination or wisdom. Imagination or wisdom. Now, what's imagination? The faculty or action of forming new ideas or images or concepts of external objects not present to the senses. It's not here. Can't smell it, can't touch it, but maybe you can see it. It's not here. How do you think about that thing? Because for most people, they only believe what they see. That's why it's hard to get people to buy in. So I don't know if you know that sometimes this is especially heavy in the Midwest. You ever go into a meeting and you drop an idea and the first thing you see is horror? You know what I mean? You're like, what if we did this? And people are like, oh my God, how are we going to do that? How are we going to pay for it? How many people are we? Oh my God, I don't know. Right? And you're like, relax. It's an idea. how do we muster up that courage, that skill set to be able to entertain these ideas? And then we have that piece, wisdom, the quality of having experience, knowledge, and good judgment, the quality of being wise. Experience, knowledge, good judgment. See, a lot of times when people vision, they think you're just pulling whatever out of the sky. But at the end of the day, your mind doesn't even know how to do that. It's always going to use the data that it's taken in. Sometimes it's not conscious to you, but all of the data points that you've ever experienced are going to feed the things that go into your vision. What we're talking about is how do we move those things to the forefront of our brain so that we can vision with a little bit more intention. We can use our knowledge, we can use our experience, we can use our ability to make good, sound decisions on purpose to think into the future, to develop and craft the type of environment that we want to have. One that's bigger than what we've ever seen before. One that may feel a little bit out of reach. But how do we do that? Right? What goes into that? And that's what we're going to talk about a little bit today, because this is a skill that we need you to be able to teach the people in your environment. This is really, really, really important. Because it's cool that you came to this, but if you don't know how to teach it, it's going to be difficult for you. It's a concept we call learn to teach. When you learn something for the purpose of teaching it, when you learn something for the purpose of giving someone else, you learn it more practically, more significantly. Now, this is important. Have you ever been out with your friends hanging out and you were the DD? Anybody ever had that experience? What's that experience like? Yeah, it's the worst. It's the worst. Because you can take people that you otherwise would like and enjoy, and they become super annoying, and tomorrow they won't remember. That's what it's like when you go back into an environment with all these cultural nuggets that you can't teach everyone else. You're the one that understands and has these different perspectives, but everybody else doesn't get it, so they become super annoying to you, and they will not remember tomorrow. So it's important that we teach these things. These are skills. And the biggest one is win. This idea of win seems simple, but a lot of people don't engage with it, which is why we're going to do that right now. So the first thing that we're going to do is at your tables. If you don't know each other by now, shame on you. But if you don't know everybody at your tables, introduce yourself. But what I want you to do is I want everyone at their table to give a win that they have had personally, professionally, or both within the last 2 weeks. So I want you to get down. I want some of you to take notes of your faces. Some of you right now, I said, hey, I want you to give a win. You're like, what? Oh, what? I want you to take note of that. That's going to be important in a second. All right? So at your tables, what I want you to do is I want you to give a win that you have had personally, professionally, or both within the last 2 weeks. And I'll also let you forecast into the next week. So for instance, if you're going camping with the kids this weekend, you can use that as well. So at your tables, I want you to discuss, everybody, a win that you've had personally, professionally, or both within the last 2 weeks, and go. All right, let's bring it back in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, I want to hear from some of you. So we got some runner bikes, so I need somebody to throw up a hand, and I want you to share a win that you have had. Oh, see, you know what? First of all, I think you were being funny, but too late. We got you. Okay, let's hear it. Let's hear what you got.
You want
now you gotta stand up. You gotta do the whole thing. Hold it. Yes.
You want professional or?
You get to do both. Live your life.
Oh, nice. Professionally, I had my yearly annual review done, and I'm happy to say that I am getting some awesome PTO hours out of it. So
yeah.
Our teammates know what that means. I did a good job.
Very good.
So yeah.
Very good.
Personally, it's not something I really did or anything. I'm gonna have to thank my parents for that. But I got asked this weekend, how come I'm not modeling?
Ooh, look at you. That's why Zara do the whole thing too.
I don't know.
She was
Tell
ready.
me, why ain't I modeling?
I mean, but why aren't you modeling?
I'm here to help people.
You can help people do modeling. You know what I mean? Very good though. Very good. Give it up for him one time. All right, let me hear more. Get a hand up. Get a hand up. Where we at? Oh, we are not going to do this. There we go. And then we got one down here.
Okay, so professionally, we got Governor Noem to sign a proclamation supporting quality early childhood education and some things that are happening in South Dakota, which is a huge win.
That's a big good. Very good. All right. We love the kids. Always the kids. Here we go.
Personally and professionally, I applied to law school on Sunday.
Let's go.
And that's something I put off for like a few years and months leading up to it. And Sunday I sat down and I knocked out my whole application. So.
Let's go. All right, one more. Get a hand up. Oh, we got over here? All right, let's go.
Okay, I have a personal one. Today, I was offered a lease and I will be living alone for the first time ever.
Freedom! Yes. Listen, sometimes it's good to not have to share. You know what I mean? Like I want my own stuff. First of all, we got another one. Let's get it.
And this is for our organization, the Great Plains Tribal Leaders Health Board. We were awarded one of 4 grants nationally to prevent youth overdoses.
Let's go. Doesn't that feel good to hear those type of things that are happening in our communities and the people in our community? Doesn't that feel good? Right? See, this is what people get twisted a lot of times. When we do this, a lot of people get it confused, and what they tend to think is that what we just did right there is an icebreaker. And it is not an icebreaker. It is an exercise. It is an exercise because we are developing a muscle. And for many people, that muscle is underdeveloped. Like, you can't go into a gym and just lift 300 pounds. You want to lift 300 pounds, but desire doesn't get it done. You have to develop the muscle to be able to do that. So what do? You lift something lighter, and then you lift something heavier until you can lift what you want. And it's the same thing with wins. Your ability to be able to identify wins is a skill that we're developing, and it is a muscle. It is a muscle that is underdeveloped in a great many people. Because so many of us take what we get, and we don't understand the skill set of being able to identify wins, and this is core to your success. See, if you think that this is just some kind of throwaway little friendly thing to get people feeling good, you're missing the entire point. Because if a person does not develop the skill set of identifying wins, you're going to have a real struggle. Because if you cannot tell that you're winning, you're losing. And for a lot of people, you might do things for your community every day. You might do things for your family every day, your kids every day, your spouse every day, your teams every day, but it doesn't feel like it. Because one of the first things that you have to do if you want people in your life to appreciate you is to teach them how to appreciate. And a lot of people have not developed that skill, that ability to truly be able to identify wins. Because the question I have for you is this: Can you be happy if you don't think you are? I need some aggressive head nods either way. Can you be happy if you don't think you are? Okay, so if you can't be happy if you don't think you are, what should you be thinking about? Sounds simple. People don't do it though. People don't do it. People want to be happy. They want to feel happy, but they don't think happy. They don't go into their mind and hold on to happy. They don't go into their mind and implant happy. They don't scour their life and find happy. They don't intentionally think happy. Some of y'all are still angry about something that happened 2 weeks ago, and you let go of something that happened good to you today. Myself. We can teach you all the little techniques, tricks, all the hacks, and all of the stuff that you want. But if you don't get people to buy into this idea, to be able to tap into gratitude, you're going to have a tough go of it. Now, see, I come from poverty. It's one of the best things that ever happened to me. I promise you I did not appreciate it in the moment. But now as I reflect on it, I can see the value in it. And part of the reason why it was so valuable to me is because it taught me the skill of gratitude. I could tap into gratitude so easily. Because if you don't get to determine when you eat, how much you eat, or how often you eat, or whether or not you'll eat at all, something as simple as leftovers can fill my heart. I go to my fridge every morning. I wake up, I pull open the fridge, and just the idea of leftovers blow my mind. That coming from a place where I couldn't decide when I was going to eat, how much I was going to eat, or whether or not I was going to eat, that now I got so much food, I'm not going to get to all of it. Every day. It's a skill. It's a skill that you have to develop. People say to me sometimes, they say, Vaney, I love you, man, you're always happy. And it kind of frustrates me a little bit. And the reason why it frustrates me is because it suggests that I come like this. And I get happy. I don't come happy. And it's important for me to have people understand that. Because I got to do work. And a lot of times when you handle something better than people, they think you have it easier than them. But it's not necessarily the case. Sometimes you develop the skill. Sometimes you have the process. See, I get happy. When I wake up in the morning, and I draw breath, I'm always a little bit excited. And giving my diet a touch surprise, I'm gonna be honest with you. So when I wake up, it's like, okay, I get another one of these. Yo, I'm 1 for 1, y'all. I'm winning already. Then I look to my left, I see my beautiful wife laying in the bed with me. Now, she did not have to come back. So I'm 2 for 2. And I haven't even got out of the bed yet. And then I get out of the bed, my body stacks up and holds up like it's supposed to. I'm feeling good. Then I look at my phone. No messages, no alerts. Now, why is that important? What happens if you pick up your phone after a good night of sleep and you see 15 to 20 missed calls and missed messages? What does that mean? Something left, something good, something wrong. Because sometimes you can run into a person, you say, hey, what happened today? They'll say nothing. I challenge people on that every time. I say, do you know how many things had to happen for nothing to happen? You get what I'm saying? Do you know how many things have to happen for you to go to bed and everybody you love to be okay? A lot of things gotta happen. Do you know how much stuff has to happen for you to wake up having everything you had yesterday and maybe even a little bit more? A lot of stuff has to happen for even nothing to happen. What a blessing. And that's the skill set you develop, teaching yourself how to win. We tell people all the time, you gotta wake up and have the skill set of being able to win. It is core to what it is that we're trying to do. It is something you want to establish. I would tell you, start your meetings like this, sit around the kitchen table, have these type of conversations, get people in the place where they're starting to identify wins, and not only identify them, but claim them. Say them out loud with conviction and confidence. You'll see people sheepishly talk about good things that are happening in their life as if they're bashful about it, as if they're ashamed of it in some way. What a blessing to have these things happen, because I tell you, if you wake up, if you are so blessed to draw breath, you get 2 things. You only get 2 things, you only deserve 2 things, you should only expect 2 things. That is a chance and that is a choice. And should you be so blessed to get a chance, you better take advantage of that choice. And if you have a choice throughout your day to identify a win versus focusing on something that is not, you're making the wrong choice. You have an opportunity to do something special. Let me give you this real quick. This seems simple again, but let me do it like this. You got job A, you got job B, okay? I'm gonna give you some very simple facts about these 2 things, and I'm gonna ask you to choose. You got job A, you got job B. So job A, all they do is solve problems. That's what they do with job A, okay? All they do all day is solve problems. So when these people go into work, 8 to 10 hours a day, they solve problems. When they get into the office, they open up their email, and there's hundreds of problems. And they sift through all of those problems and they solve them. That's what they do every day. Now at job B, what job B does is they take advantage of opportunities. All they do, 8 to 10 hours a day, is take advantage of opportunities. They see opportunities, they point them out, and then they take advantage of them to make their situation better. So all they do when they get to their email and see hundreds of emails about opportunities that they can take advantage of to make their situation better. That's what they do all day. Now, not knowing anything else about job A, not knowing anything else about job B, which job do you want? Job A or job B? Job B. Because job A sounds like it sucks. Who wants to do that all day? Who wants to be in that environment? Has anybody ever worked in a loser environment? Huh? Yeah, I can hear it. What was that like? When you walked in and you know what I mean? People say, how you doing today? Another day above ground. Ew! Who wants to work next to the another day above ground dude for 10 hours a day? Nobody. And then my favorite, hey, how you doing today? Living the dream. Which is code for I want to end it. Listen, y'all, what are we doing? We put energy on each other when we're doing these things. We have an opportunity to elevate. So one of the first things we have to do is to be able to identify wins. Now, this is another one that's really important that I want you to focus on. And that is assessment by way of analysis. Assessment by way of analysis. So let's look into it. So assessment, the evaluation or estimation of the nature, quality, or ability of someone or something to assess a thing. To see what its quality is, what its opportunities are, what the abilities are. And then analysis, the process of breaking a complex topic or substance into smaller parts in order to gain a better understanding of it, to truly understand it. Okay? Now, let's think about what normally happens. This is why this is so important, and I really need you to get this one. We have to teach people to assess off of analysis. What normally happens is we just ask people their opinion, but do you even really want that? Right? I mean, opinions are cool, everybody gets one or whatever, but how many of them are actually useful? Right? And then, how do people normally present things to you? Do they present them in broken down complexities where that person has spent some time really thinking about it? Or do they drop off problems? Hey boss, this sucks. You want to do something about that? So many times people drop off problems or just give you their emotions, just give you their feelings. But what can you do with that? Not much. What we want to get people to do, there's time for feelings, don't get me wrong. There's a time for you to talk about your feelings and that type of thing. But when we draw each other together, when we share space with each other, we want to take that opportunity to discuss and work through actionable things we can actually put into practice to create the change that we want to create. Because otherwise, what are we doing? So what we want to teach people is a skill of assessment. Number one, did you evaluate the thing? Not how you feel about the thing. We're not asking for your feelings. We're not asking for your opinion. We're asking for your assessment. We want you to use your logical mind. And we want you to use it based off of your analysis, meaning that you take the thing, that you break it down, that you try to get a better understanding of it so you can see what's going on. Tamia was talking about our Think 3D way. One of the things that we also talk about in our Think 3D way is the idea of figure it out. It's on our job posting. If you come to work at Think 3D, you better have figure it out. And basically what figure it out means is, if the first thing you do when you find a problem is bring it to me, that's a problem. Did you use your active mind? Did you try to think it through? Did you research? Did you take a look at it? Did you see if there were opportunities so that when you do bring it to me, you're able to provide me with insights and different viewpoints so that I can actually evaluate what it is that we're doing so I can really truly address it. That's what I'm asking for. Figure it out. How do we approach it? How do we come at it so we can assess it through our analysis? So one of the things that we have to teach people is to assess based off of analysis. When we bring each other together, if you want to knock on my door, you want to come and you want to talk about, actually, you know what, I'm going to get into this real quick too. Because sometimes people talk about this idea of venting. Let me just give you the difference in these things. There is venting and there is spewing. Okay? You get to vent, you don't get to spew. When we vent something, what are we doing? What are we doing when we vent something? Say that again. Getting up and we're releasing pressure, right? So when you vent something, right, you valve it, and steam comes out of you. Where does the steam go? It goes up and it dissipates, leaving the thing that you vented with less pressure in a more stable state. I'm into that. Spewing, however, doesn't go up, it goes out. It goes on you, and it's sticky. It don't come off. It doesn't do anything. And so when you let people come into your office or come around you and spew, they'll be back because it doesn't actually change the dynamics. It's like taking a half-full 9-volt battery and putting it against a an empty 9-volt battery. What happens? Well, you lose energy from the half-full battery, but the empty battery doesn't charge. It doesn't actually get better. It doesn't actually improve, which means they'll be back tomorrow for another fix. Okay? We want to break that connection. What I'm asking for is your assessment and your analysis. Don't come to me and tell me that there is a problem. Tell me what you think. Right? And we'll talk about that a little bit more in a second. Now, what that leads us to is this idea of ideation. How do we think together well? How do we actually work through this concept? The formation of ideas or concepts. We don't train each other to ideate. We don't train each other to think together. We bring people together that usually have competing interests or singular perspectives, and we hope that maybe something can supersede all the others, and then we'll do that. Rather than bringing people together willing and prepared to participate in the process to produce the best idea, because the best idea wins. In any environment where you're trying to get the most out of your situation, the best idea should win. So when we teach ideation, there's a couple things that we go into it. So we're going to go into some ground rules of how we set this tone of ideation. Okay? So, first thing, ideas go up, not out. Ideas go up and not out. oftentimes, and I want you to think about this, and I want you to think about your experiences in meetings. What will happen is that people will come and they will send their idea to everyone else for those people to either accept or reject their idea. And if people accept it, they're happy, and people reject it, they're hurt. They feel like they were rejected because it's their idea and someone didn't like their idea. One of the first keys to having effective ideation is that ideas have no ownership. Ideas have no ownership. Ideas go up, they don't go out. You don't send them to us, you offer up the idea to the room. Once it's in the air, we get to twist it, turn it, kick it, pull it, pop it, whatever it is that we want to do with it, because it's not your idea. Ideas do not have ownership, activities do. So once we pull this thing down and we make it real and we assign activities, yeah, that can be yours, but the idea is not. Ideas go up, they do not go out. Ideas do not have ownership. I tell this story. I was sitting with my friend about 20 years ago, 25 years ago, something like that. We were sitting in the vehicle room, and I remember saying to him, I said, you know what would be dope? If they had a thing like when you were watching TV, it kind of recorded it at the same time. So then you can like watch the show back later, and you can fast forward through commercial. You know what I'm saying? Now, did I invent TiVo? No, I didn't. I had an idea. But ideas don't have ownership. The people who invented it because they did the thing. Activities have ownership, not ideas. So when we come to our space, we offer ideas to the room, and we beat them about. We do whatever we want to do with that idea because it's not yours. Ideas do not have ownership. Activities do. You with me on that one? Ideas do not have ownership. Activities do. So here's what I want to do right now. What I want to do right now is at your table, I want to spend a couple minutes. And I want you to talk about what are one or two things that we might be able to do to add a little energy to our ideation, to shake up how we go about it. Because sometimes we go to a room and we sit down and then somebody reads stuff to you. It's a little thing I like to call sitting through an email. Why am I here, bro? You know what I mean? So how can we make that more dynamic and more interesting? So at your tables, I want you to talk about what can we do to bolster ideation, to get people into the room to craft an idea together without trying to sell people on the idea you already came with. So at your tables, a couple minutes and go. All right, let's bring it back in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. I just want to hear a few ideas, so let's get some hands up. Let's hear a few ideas of how we can better enhance our ideation process, make it a little bit more interesting and dynamic. What do we come up with? Oh no, you gotta do the mic thing. You can't shake the mic. Let's get her the mic over here.
I don't even have my shoes on. I'm getting relaxed.
Well, luckily we can't see your feet.
Don't look at my feet. Our thing was establishing ground rules. So
Yeah.
when you come into a room and you're collaborating with other people, collectively you want to establish what are the ground rules together. That way nobody feels like that judgment or people that like to overshare. They took up all the time and nobody else gets to share. So that's kind of our consensus.
Absolutely. There's a concept we call it, dojo mentality. We talk about that dojo mentality for anybody in here that's a martial artist or anything like that. If you do anything like Hapkido, Aikido, or any of those other type of things, Jiu-Jitsu, those type of things, when you go into a gym, one of the first things that they'll teach you is how to fall. One of the reasons why they teach you how to fall is because you're going to do it a lot. We're figuring it out. You're not just going to get it right away. And sometimes by establishing ground rules and giving people proper expectations of what the environment is going to be like and what it can feel like allows that person to really prepare for that situation and understand that they're in a safe space where everything's not going to line up the way they want it to in their mind, but we're going to get through it because this is where we learn, develop, and grow. You have to have a training ground, a space for people to feel safe to work on their craft, particularly together. Let me give another one. What do we got?
So integrating what we talked about at our table and the ground rules idea is that the whole ownership of my idea didn't get picked, or conversely from management not coming down with why that idea couldn't be implemented. So there's communication and maybe establishing at the beginning that ground rules that, we're gonna be talking through these things, we can integrate some of these ideas together. These are all our ideas, not any one person's ideas, and we're gonna move forward with the best one that we can select that is
possible to be implemented.
Yes.
And kind of having that conversation from the beginning, rather than now we've picked an idea and someone feels rejected or hurt
Yes.
after the fact. If they know that going in, then that might make that end result a little easier.
Yes, love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. First of all, one of the things I love the most is that she said, I'm going to tell you why, which people don't do. We have a very simple concept, which is give people what they want. If you can't give people what they want, give them a why. Because if you can't give them a why wouldn't you give them what they want? Who wants to work with somebody that says no cuz? No one. So presumably, if you're saying no, it's because you have a good reason. And if you have a good reason, provide it. One of the biggest mistakes that leaders make is that they don't say no, they punt, which is far more annoying. Hey, I'm gonna look into that. We'll get back to you. We're gonna have a little talk about it, and we'll get. And 6 months later, you're like, what happened to the idea? Oh no, we'll get back. That's frustrating. That's what makes people feel like they're not heard. That's what makes people feel like you're not really taking them seriously. If it's a no, tell them no and tell them why. Give people what they want. If you can't give them what they want, give them a why. Because if you can't give them a why wouldn't you give them what they want? Communication works both ways. Part of the reason why communication isn't effective in most organizations, part of the reason why it's top 3 issues in almost every organization, no matter the industry, is because people don't close the loop. If you don't close the loop, communication doesn't really happen. You can talk at somebody, you can send random emails to whoever and say, I said it, but that doesn't matter if that person didn't receive it. Because communication is not message sent. Communication is message received. Did you get what I am saying to you? Now we have completed the communication, and real communication has happened. You with me on that? Very good. All right, here's the next thing. It's not what you know, it's what you think. This one is really challenging for me. It's one of my greatest frustrations because many times when people get frustrated, many times when people get really, when they feel like they're under pressure or you're asking them a question or you're trying to follow up, a lot of times what people will default to is, well, I don't know. 2 things. First of all, for my folks in here that lead people, raise your hand if you lead people. Okay, if you lead people, you really want to dial in on this one. First of all, we always want to give people opportunities to engage in leadership, which is why anytime somebody's frustrated with a decision that we have, we want to give that person the opportunity to reason it with us. If you were in this seat, how would you play it? And a lot of times you hear people say, I don't know, which means if you're saying I don't know, you should be open to suggestions. And a lot of times people would default to that because they don't have the right answer. And if you push on someone enough, and you push against I don't know enough, what people will say is, well, I don't know what you want me to say. Aha, there it is. It's because you're trying to figure out what I want you to say. You're trying to figure out what I want to hear versus what it is that you want to say. And see, that's the thing about I don't know. I'm not interested in what you know because no one knows anything. First of all, facts are temporary. Pluto was a planet, then it wasn't. Okay? You know? The second thing is people get to decide how they feel about facts. If you've ever been on Twitter. You know what I mean? Right? So, we're not talking about that piece of it. What I'm interested in is not what you know. I'm interested in what you think. That thing that's going on in your brain, you are always thinking 100% of the time. I want you to think out loud. I want to know what's going on in your mind so I can understand what motivates this behavior or this perspective so that you can ignite ideas in other people so that we can know where you're coming from and not trying to form it into this perfect, pristine thing that no one can take issue with because that will keep you from saying anything at all. So the very first thing we need you to do is to come with genuine ideas and talk about what it is that you think. I'm not interested in what you know. Do not accept, I don't know. Why did you do da-da-da-da-da? I don't know. Nope, not going for that one. Why do you think you did it? We need those gears to be turning. This is a very special one if you have kids. Okay? Why do you think you did that? Why do you think you responded in that way? Why do you think this is the better way to do it? I'm not interested in what you know. I am interested in what you think. We are encouraging people to use their active minds. We are all full-grown adults. We're autonomous people. And if we're going to work together, I need you to come with your stuff too. Because here's the thing. I'm not interested in being your guru. I'm not interested in being the maestro. I'm not interested in being a person's puppet master. I, as a full-grown adult, want to come to an environment with other full-grown adults, and I want to do dope shit because we came focused to do dope things. That's what I want. How about you? You into that? Right. Let's do that. Let's do that. People say all the time, man, I don't want to babysit. Well, quit treating them like kids. Come with your active, intelligent mind. The people that you're around have so many skills and abilities we have not even tapped into yet. Pull that out of them. And even more to the point, demand it out of them. Challenge them to it, encourage them to it, inspire them to it, motivate them to it so they use their active mind. Use your brain. It is a beautiful thing. Everybody has one, and you can use yours. Now, the next thing is, if you are present, participate. Whenever we come into organizations and we do these type of trainings, we sit in there, and just by the nature of it, there's always 15, 20% of people who, are dragging their feet. They're clinging onto the doorway. They want to keep it the way it is. They don't want to move, and I understand that for some people. And for some people, they have good reason. They have a lot of data points as to why they might want to think that way. And so sometimes when we come into that environment, I always want to check with people, and I always let people know somebody might have told you that you have to be here. I want to tell you that you don't. I always invite people to leave, because you don't have to be here. One of the things that we need people to understand is that you are always making a choice. Always. Now, some people will say, well, I don't have a choice. No, you have a choice. You don't like them, but you have them. You always have a choice. You don't have to be here. So if you show up, participate, because otherwise, why would you be here? Why would you take up this space? Why would you take all this air? Why would you affect this energy if you don't actually want to participate in a better outcome? Challenge people. If you show up, participate. Because we want volunteers, not hostages. Okay? You don't gotta be here. But if you show up, show up. Never be comfortable with people showing up to a place and not being present. If you're here, be here. Engage, participate, offer something. That doesn't mean that you have to come away with the blow them away idea. That doesn't mean that you have to steal the show and all those other type of things. That doesn't mean that you have to go far outside of your character. But what it means is that you have to challenge yourself to contribute, to create a better outcome, because you have expectations. You ever be in a room and you ask people their opinion and no one says anything? Now you know they have one. And as soon as they leave this room, they're going to share it. And they're usually going to share it with somebody that can't do anything about it. What sense does that make? Challenge those concepts. Why would you be standing by the water cooler complaining with Tina, Tom, or whoever else when they can't do anything about it? Because you lack the courage to go knock on the door of the person that can. These are the type of things we have to get people to engage in. If you are present, participate. Come into the room really ready to go. This is another thing that has to go when we talk about preparation for participation. This is why, as best you can, don't spring things on people in the meeting. Don't adjust the agenda beforehand. But give people what it is that you want to be talking about, and give them some insights of the ways that they can contribute so that they know that there's actually an opportunity. But when you have a situation where you're always telling people to hold their questions to the end, or you're rushing them out of time, and so that when you get to the end, there's never any time for their questions and things of that nature, and they have to leave the room not really having any more information or insights based on what their frustrations or challenges are, you're discouraging those people from actually coming to participate. Instead, those people are coming to get through it. And if that's the case, save yourself some time, cancel the meeting. If you're going to be here, be here. You with me on that one? Very good. Okay. This is a big one. We're going to spend a little time on this. This is a big one right here. Don't be a coward. 2 of the most unused words in the English language that we need to use more is courage and cowardice. Courage is the ability to overcome fear. This is often confused with the absence of fear. But courage is not the absence of fear. Fear is present. Fear is present forever. It is the ability to overcome said fear, presumably because the thing that you're going after is worth more than that fear. Courage. Cowardice, conversely, is the inability to overcome fear. Now, nobody likes being called a coward, but it's not an insult, it's an assessment. It has a definition with a real reason. If you cannot overcome the fear for something that you deem to be important, it's cowardice. Now, the easiest way to get to our courage is to call out our cowardice, is to take ownership of it. Because oftentimes, we project our frustrations on the people who make us feel cowardly versus the fact that we can't overcome that fear. And the reason why this is so important is because there's a part of your experience that you can't even tap into unless you tap into your courage. There's a part of your experience you cannot access except by way of courage. Like, for instance, your organization might have an open door policy, but what does that mean if you're afraid to knock on the door and say what it is that you think? Nothing. You might work in an environment where people will entertain your ideas, where they'll listen to them. You might even use some of them, but what does that amount to if you're afraid to offer your ideas for fear of sounding stupid? You might work in an environment where people are comfortable with you emoting, showing emotions like a true human being. But that doesn't amount to a hill of beans if you're afraid to cry for fear of looking weak. It's a part of your culture you can only get to by way of courage. And see, this is what makes so many of our dynamics difficult, because the difficult thing is that the only thing that has to happen for someone to be intimidating is for someone to be intimidated. The only thing that has to happen for somebody to be scary is for somebody to be scared. You see, we charge people for not what they do to us. We charge people for how they make us feel. And see, somebody can make us feel something they didn't intend to. Somebody can make us feel something they weren't trying to. Somebody can make us feel something that they have no reference of. But because of the fact you stood on the other side of that door of your leader's office and you couldn't quite muster up the courage to knock on that, now you feel scared. And you made that person scary. And they might be on the other side of that door waiting for somebody to come in to take advantage of what they have offered hundreds of times. One of the things we have to all accept from each other is that we cannot cast the weight of our cowardice on other people. You got to own that all by yourself. Don't be a coward. Now, we will be in some instances, but own it. Know when you didn't step up to the plate. Know when you didn't answer the call, when you didn't meet the moment, so that we can gravitate towards our courage. So here's what I want you to do at your tables right now. And I want you to take a good chunk of time. What I want you to do at your tables right now, I want you to talk about a situation, or I want you to talk about an incident, or I want you to talk about an idea when you have operated in cowardice, where you've been a coward, where you didn't meet the moment. Be honest about it. And then I want you to talk about how you are going to step into your courage to be that person that you know you can be, the person that is available to you. So I want you to talk about a moment in time where you acted in cowardice. And then I want you to talk about how we're going to step into our courage. At your table and go.
Good, running.
All right, let's bring it back in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, do we have some runner mic? Beautiful. Okay, so now, what a great opportunity for us to example our courage. They will respond to this question. So, let me hear from you. Where is a moment where we have acted in cowardice? And how are we going to step further into our courage? What do we have? Say that? I was about to say. Well, I'm about to say it right here. We got one right here. Yes.
Well, sometimes when we're dealing with people who have strong personalities, we will avoid saying the things we need to say, whether that's to protect ourselves or to avoid hurting their feelings.
I'm going to challenge you on this one because you're saying we.
I personally, but also someone else at my table had a...
You just snitching on them like that? You just gonna drop a dime on them? Okay.
I mean, I'm not throwing it, aim it that way. But yeah, I do. When confronted with strong personalities, I often back down so that I don't cause conflict.
Yes. Now, how are we going to step deeper into our courage? You get a chance to think about that a little bit.
By understanding that what I have to say is something that I need to hear out loud, even if they don't.
Yeah. And here's the other thing about that. Like, sometimes people talk about that when we talk about strong personalities. Loud personality. Quiet is strong too. You ever heard of the strong silent type? There's power in all of those different type of things. And sometimes people just don't approach it the way we approach it. That doesn't necessarily mean that that person means us any harm. That doesn't mean anything that way. What it means is that you fully get to occupy your space and have your perspective. Sometimes what we need is security. Security is what allows us to understand that what this person is feeling is not about me. Sometimes that part is hard to do. And that takes some courage for us to get to that place. You see, when we lack security, it makes it difficult. Like, for instance, if you have a gas stove that you're not sure that you turned off, no matter how good what I'm saying to you is right now, what are you going to be focused on? The gas stove, right? It could be off, but you're not sure it's off, so is it off? Right? We hyper-focus on things we're not sure about, including ourselves. So we're not sure about ourselves, sometimes we hyper-focus on ourselves, which is why you can walk into a room, people can start to giggle, and even though there's no shortage of a trillion things that they're laughing at, what are you convinced that they're laughing at? You. That's insecurity in that way. And so by securing ourselves, tapping into that courage, knowing that I can occupy this space, and if that person is laughing at me, they get to. That has nothing to do with how I feel about me. And so when a person can present you with frustration or aggression or anger or any of those other type of things, you can have the type of security to know that this is not about me, so I'm gonna let you get your feels out, and then we're gonna talk about what we're gonna do. That's what we're talking about when we get into that space of courage. It's knowing you get to occupy that space, you get to have that perspective, you get to share it, and you get to have an expectation that you're in an environment that's safe enough for you to do all of them. Let me get another one.
So, an author that I really respect and admire, Joseph Vaney, talks about how we often crave acceptance and fear truth. And we need to learn to crave truth and fear acceptance. And in a video of a group that he's worked with, it's called The Other Side Academy. It's a bunch of convicts and felons and people who are trying to better their lives. They have this thing where they call it the game. And they tell each other what's wrong with, if it's my game, everybody in this room be telling me what's wrong with me, and I gotta learn how to hear it. Yeah. And one of the guys comes out of that academy, and he says that, I started to learn that I could listen to that person, and I could say, if I listen and genuinely listen, I'm either gonna reflect on this. If it's true, I'm gonna learn something about myself. And if I reflect and it's not true, I'm gonna learn something about them. So I'm just gonna listen. Yeah. So being able to hear hard truths about ourselves and maybe it's not, I'm not sure if it's true about me, but this person maybe believes it's true about me. This is all just, it's really hard for us because we crave that acceptance and we fear the truth because we feel like we're not good enough.
For sure. So. Perception is oftentimes reality. Listen, if you talk to 100 people and 90% of them think you're a jerk, are you a jerk? Maybe, maybe not, but you should probably look into it. You know what I'm saying? Like, survey says, right? You should look into it. And when we talk about that idea of being able to entertain other people's ideas and things of that nature and hear things about ourselves, one of the most difficult skills is the skill to be able to listen better than other people can speak. Because most of us don't actually take an issue to what people say. We take issue to how it sounds. Most of you are angry before the person finishes the sentence because it didn't sound right to you. That's a lot of times what happens instead of assessing and analyzing what they said. That's the skill set. It's being able to listen better than somebody can speak. Right? It's knowing that this person might not have the skill. First of all, how many of you have the skill set? Most people are not actually even taught how to communicate if we're being real. Most people are not taught how to communicate. What we're taught in school is how to read, write, and talk. But calling that communication is like me giving you eggs, flour, and sugar and saying I gave you a cake. No, I didn't. I gave you the ingredients for it. But if you don't put it in the right amount, in the right sequence, for the right amount of time, it's not going to do what it's supposed to do. Too much flour or too little flour and it won't rise. Not enough egg and it won't bind. Too much salt, it'll be inedible. If you don't put these things to their right degree, we're not going to be effective. So people were taught how to read, write, talk, but they weren't taught how to communicate. You weren't taught how to de-escalate. You weren't taught how to motivate. You weren't taught how to inspire, to challenge, or any of those other type of things. These are skill sets that have to be developed. If you're not currently teaching these things in your environment, you can expect to have a lot of miscommunication. These are skills we have to develop. But here's the big thing, and this is what I want you to leave with here. Part of the reason why we did this, part of the reason why we wanted to come with this is because we want our state to be the best state possible because we live in it, right? I believe there's this thing. I always say it like this. I'm big in the community. I spend a lot of my time and energy in the community. I love it. 'Cause I live here. And one of the things we always say to people is that there's flower people and there's frosting people. You see, frosting people, they want to go to a place where the cake is already baked. You know, you can go to New York, Atlanta, or LA, whatever. That is what it is. You can frost it, put a little cherry on top, you can put some sprinkles on it, you can decorate it, but that cake is baked. I'm a flower person. I want to be in the mix. I want to determine how it tastes. I want to determine the buoyancy, the structure of it, the feel of it. I want to decide. And for us, for all of the people in this room, and a lot of people who haven't found out about this room yet, want to do something special in our community, want it to be different, we don't have to be beholden to the past. I talk about Thomas Jefferson, and I don't quote the forefathers much for a lot of reasons, but him as a philosopher, a big one was this. He thought we should redo the Constitution every 20 years. But the concept was this: the living should not be governed by the dead. We get to do it how we want to do it. It's our hands on the wheel. We get to decide. And so for me, I just assume that as a state, we come together and we decide to do things that are special and innovative and important and relevant and significant and monumental. Things that bind people together and cast out the negativities that make people feel like in rooms like this, they have to wear a mask, that they have to pretend, they can't be them full selves. I think we all have had enough of that. And that's why we want to be here. So the thing we always challenge people to do is that anytime you show up in a room, leave with an activity, leave with a commitment. So even as we leave these doors today, I ask that you leave with an activity. What do you want to do? Because for all of the things that were said today, if you do even one of them, it was worth the price of admission by 10. One thing, if you do a thing to advance your life, we have done so much. You have to leave with an activity and a commitment to do something. For us, especially in our community, we're thought of in a lot of different ways. Some people call us gurus, we're not. Some people call us thought leaders, we're thoughtful leaders. What we care about is that people are active in their communities. They decide the type of environment that they want to have, the type of relationships they want to have with other people, the type of environment they want to bring their kids up in. We don't just have to talk about it, we don't have to dream about it. What we're asking you to do is think. Think about it. Spend time and think about how you can improve. Spend time to think about how you can put some of these things that you've learned today into practice to make your environment better. And what I would ask is this, because we're going to be back next year. Hopefully you will be back with us. Come back with stories to tell about what you did this year, about how you moved something forward, about how you made yourself and your environment better, so we get to celebrate that with you next year. We are so excited to do it. So give yourselves a round of applause. And the speakers, thank you so much.